Sup, little pussy? Sup, little pussy? Sup, little pussy? Yo, what's up, girl? Hey, what's up, girl? Yo, girl, you want some dick? Hey, girl. Yo, you want some pipe? Yo, sup, girl? I know you want some pipe. Damn, girl, you missing out on some pipe. Oh, I can't see the fucking audio levels. Why does Canon make a fucking camera where you can't see the... It's primarily a video camera. You know you're not going to take pictures of this shit. Why the fuck would you... Hey there and welcome. Is this an overused gag already? Overusing the mirror? I think I've already done that way too many times. Today we have a very controversial topic in the world of magic, and that is piracy. Piracy. Pirates. Are you a pirate? Am I a pirate? Do I pirate? Yeah. But we're going to talk about the pros and cons of piracy in the magic community, and then hopefully open a little bit of a hot discussion in the comments section. I know I've only seen this relegated to the Facebook side of things, the Magic Cafe section, but rarely do you have a young and up-and-coming chap like me to talk about things like that. So today we're going to talk about piracy in the magic community. You know, it's been a while since I busted out the hoodie. I don't think I've ever shown my face while wearing the hoodie. Typically, I wore the hoodie when you only saw this half of my body, but now you see this. So I don't think I've ever worn the hoodie under these circumstances, but I don't think that matters. So today we're going to talk about piracy, and it's a quite substantial argument. There's a lot of fervor, there's a lot of heat when it comes to this discussion. So I'm going to be as open to both sides as possible here. I'm going to talk about the cons, talk about the pros, and then give my opinion on piracy in the magic community, because believe it or not, there are some pros. Apart from actually getting the product for free, there are quite a number of pros, but there's just as many cons. Now, for those of you guys that are above the age of 50 and don't know what piracy is when you steal and or download and or appropriate a product in the magic community and don't pay for it. So in this case, there are websites online. There are ways that you could access these documents, these downloads, these PDFs, these videos, and not pay for them. Although one thing that I've seen recently, which I might be a boomer for not understanding or realizing that this is a thing, is Chinese companies that actually buy the product and or download it in whatever way they do, and then they resell it at a very cheap price. I'm not talking about that in this video. I'm talking about actual piracy, which is downloading the product or the download and not paying for it. Now, this has been going on with the movie business forever. It's been going on with music. I remember on Napster. I remember being on Napster or Kazaa and downloading MP3 files of what I thought were Survivor's greatest hits, but ended up being hardcore black pornography, gay hardcore black pornography, which unlocked something and feelings that I really couldn't explain at the time, but now I understand what they are. So I have a little list here. Usually you would have this aside on the camera, but the production of this channel is usually abysmal. So it doesn't matter if I'm holding a notebook like this, because I don't care about production value. You heard that, Chris? All right, Ramsey. You heard that, Alex, Pandrea, Xavier, you guys that care about editing and all that. I'm just doing this. All right, I'm doing this for dozens of views. So diminishing returns. Effort. All right, you have a scale here. The amount of effort you put versus the views you get, which are, you know, thousands, millions, whatever. Me, I put no effort and I get dozens of views. So who's really winning here? So the first downside is revenue loss. When it comes to producing a video, money is obviously a factor. It costs money. The camera that I bought costs money. The microphone that I bought costs money. The lights, the time, everything costs money to produce. It's not just free. So when it comes to coming out with a product, usually that involves buying props, that involves buying things that would make that product work, whether that's editing software, whether it's actual magic props, playing cards, everything costs money. And if you're going to boil it down, time costs money. So those are things that contribute to the making of a product, that contribute to the making of a download, or back in my day, say DVDs, VHSs, all that costs money to make and produce and then give to you. And the little things that you might not realize, for example, DVD cases, cases for the actual thing, boxes, art, all that costs money. So obviously when somebody downloads something without paying for it, that all comes at a loss. The individual did not make the money for the product in that particular case. It sounds obvious, but I'm operationally defining what revenue loss is in terms of you downloading a magic product or whatever product that is to begin with. So the loss of revenue is quite substantial, because usually when a magician prices something, it's to make a profit when they've already put some money there so that the product could come to you in your house. So when you are selling that, you are trying to make profit and recoup some of the losses in the actual production. Basic business shit, okay? Basic business shit. You don't need to go to college to understand that. But when it comes to this, imagine you are putting in zero, but you are getting the product. So therefore, there is no profit going to the person that took the time, the effort, and the money to make the product to begin with. And that's the main one. That's the main argument against piracy. And it makes sense, because I've come up with projects, I've come up with, little products here or there, and it costs money to make. It costs time, it costs effort, the editing, the software, the camera, everything costs money. And to not be able to make that money is kind of rough, especially as an individual. So I completely understand the loss of revenue aspect of it. And some people might justify it by saying, oh, it's a large company, they have money dedicated to, loss or whatever, if it's like a retail store. But when it comes to downloads, it really is a loss to the company. The other one is diminishing motivation. That's another reason as to why piracy is a con, especially when it comes to magic. Imagine you have put a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of money into releasing a product, and you see that product released on a torrent site for free. A bunch of people download it. What's going to be the reinforcement for you? You're not going to have any. So when it comes to magic, bottom line is reinforcement is this right here, money right here, the moolah. You're trying to, at the end of the day, feed yourself. You're trying to feed your family. You have expenses. At the end of the day, you could say that it's all about the art, but you do need the money. That's why you're doing it to begin with. You wouldn't do it out of the kindness of your heart for free. Obviously, you want that reinforcement of money. And when you don't have that reinforcement, that motivation decreases. And it makes complete sense. And that's happened before. That you have individuals put out products, you have individuals that put out downloads, and what happens to them is that they lose that motivation. They lose that to want to do stuff and to try to work, because at the end of the day, they're not going to see the money from it. They're not going to see that reinforcement. They might see some positive accolades, and that's always good. But at the end of the day, the money, I think, is what counts the most. And if you don't believe that, you're lying to yourself. The other one that I wrote here is diminishes value. So it diminishes the value of the product itself. So when you pirate something, it no longer has the value that you intended. If you're selling it for $30, that value is diminished to $0. So it literally loses value when it comes to you releasing that particular item. And also mentally, it loses value, because now it's a commodity. Now it's just easy for you to be able to download it and not have to worry about the payments. You could just essentially download it, and the value that it had, the notoriety that it had, the exclusivity that it had to people that actually paid for it is completely gone to the people that just downloaded it and found it on a website, and now they have it. So it both literally diminishes in value, and it also, I guess, metaphorically diminishes in value, if you want to think about it that way. And because I'm actually retarded, I wrote cost money and time to develop product, which I already said in the first point. So stay in school, kids. Now, just like there are cons for the idea of piracy, there's also pros. There's also reasons as to why you would want to pirate. For example, the main one is you can't afford the thing that you want. So in this case, you can't afford the product, you can't afford the book, you can't afford whatever it is that's being put out there. And the only way for you to be able to get it and have access to it is to steal it. So there's a lot of morality arguments when it comes to that, but essentially that's the reason why most people would pirate. However, the argument against that and the argument for piracy, the main one would be that the pirate aren't usually the type to buy the product anyway. So if you are somebody who's pirating something, you aren't typically going to be a type of person to purchase something. You're not going to be the type of person to buy a song or to buy a movie. You're going to be the type of person to pirate it to begin with. So it's not revenue loss when there never would have been that revenue gained to begin with. That's the argument there. And that makes complete sense. If you're the type of person that doesn't typically buy a magic product, you download it, you were never going to buy that product to begin with. So therefore, there's no expectation that that's loss of revenue because you wouldn't have put the money to begin with. So if you're coming out with a product, I don't want to say any names, but if you're coming out with a product for $30, for example, and then 14,000 people happen to have downloaded that product on a torrent website, that's not all lost profit. That's profit that doesn't exist. So you can't say you've lost $14 million. You can't say that. That math doesn't make any logical sense. So if you're coming up with math like that, you really need to check yourself. The other one is that there are more eyes on the product or idea. In this case, you have more eyes on whatever it is that you released. So whereas you only had a limited amount of people seeing that content or seeing that trick, that download, that video, when you sold it, now you have more access to eyes. Their material is now spread to a wider audience. So you have more of a namesake when it comes to the actual magic community. And that to some is valuable. Names are valuable to people. So if you have a lot of people that know who you are, know what you do, you have an impact on the community, that does tend to mean a lot to certain types of individuals. Of course, remember that they didn't pay for that content, but at the end of the day, that is somebody that is now aware of you and what it is that you do because they actually got access to your material. The last one that I wrote down here is access to out of published material. So there's a lot of stuff that is no longer being sold in a magic community, whether that's videos, VHSs, books is more common. There's a lot of things that are hard to find that are out of print. So typically when it comes to pirating and websites like that, they have access to that material because it's in a server somewhere. It's not in a library. It's not in a shelf. It's not in a warehouse. It's actually in a server and you could just download it by torrenting it, essentially. So with piracy, you do have access to a lot of out of print content and a lot of stuff that they no longer make. So that could be a benefit in terms of not only archiving, but for knowledge. So you will now have access to essentially a lot of stuff that is out of publishing and is no longer being sold by magic companies. So whereas maybe they would have once stand to make a profit from it and actually make money, they no longer can make money because nobody's selling it. So that's another benefit of piracy. Now, where do I stand on this? Where is it that your boy Piggy R stands on this particular topic? And it's very difficult for me to stand and actually have a neutral perspective because I've pirated stuff. I'm sure everybody's pirated stuff. Not only have I pirated, programs and stuff, but yeah, I've also pirated magic content. But then again, I've also bought a lot of magic content. So I'm in the middle. I stand firmly in the middle. If this was a right and a left discussion here, I would be right here. Okay, I'd be voting for both Biden and Trump in this particular case, and then be arrested for voter fraud. That's where I would be if this was the political comparison. And of course, I also have to tread on the side of caution here because I make my living on Patreon. I make my living on YouTube. I make my living selling and providing content at a value online. So in this case, $5 a month gets you 2 videos every single week on the Pigcake Magic Academy. What? The Pigcake Magic Academy, $5 a month gets you 2 videos every single week going over card stuff, coin stuff. If you're part of the Piggybacker, which is $1 a month, you get 2 videos every single week. So if you're part of the Pigcake Magic Academy, you get 4 videos every single week going over everything, going over card stuff, coin stuff. There's over 600 videos already there ready for you to watch the moment you sign up. That's how I make most of my living. I make most of my living on the Pigcake Magic Academy. So would it be detrimental to me if that content were to somehow find its way to the servers of a pirate? I want to say ship, but technically it's not a ship. It's a website. It's just on a server somewhere in a hard drive. So would I be happy if that happened? No, I wouldn't be happy because then it diminishes the value of the academy. It diminishes the value of what it is that I do. And it makes it less likely for me to be able to make money on that. But at the same time, I do feel like if I could have the option to give that content out for free, I would. But unfortunately, as it be, I have obligations, I have bills, I have rent, I have things that I got to pay. So therefore, I rely on the money that I make providing that service and keep being able to provide and make content. But in return, I also get money so I could keep doing that in a sense of being able to eat and being able to pay rent and things like that. So it's a double-edged sword in that case. It's on both sides. So whereas I would love to be able to give it out for free because unfortunately I do have a little bit of a appreciation and love for this gay art that I call magic. But at the end of the day, realistically, You got to make money. You got to make money. It's like Adobe. Adobe products have a weird relationship when it comes to pirates, where they are aware that piracy exists. As a matter of fact, they don't necessarily condone it, but they accept it. They accept the piracy, and they are aware of the fact that if the person truly appreciates the program, truly likes the program, when they actually have the ability to afford the program, they're going to probably end up buying the program. So that's the little bit of a relationship that Adobe has. And I think that's maybe how I feel about it. It's definitely a weird argument. It's definitely a moral issue. It's a legal issue, obviously. But I would say it's mostly a moral issue in the sense of, why should you download? Why are you downloading to begin with? Can you afford it? Can you not afford it? Are you going to give that money when you can? It's an odd thing. It's definitely an odd thing. And in my position, it's even weirder because, again, I make my living on the internet. I make my living entirely on Patreon, YouTube, as I mentioned earlier. So I definitely want to see what you guys have to say in the comment section here on YouTube. I don't want to see any flame, all right? Any flamers. Is that still a word? Is that still a thing that people say? Let's not incite any flame wars here when it comes to this particular thing. Don't make it be like the Magic Cafe or Facebook, where, you know, it's just a cesspool of trash. All right, drain the swamp. So thank you guys for watching this video. I'm going to go and expect some good comments below. And I appreciate you guys. I do appreciate you guys generally, the ones that are part of the academy, the ones that are contemplating, the ones that even watch these videos. I do appreciate it all, because at the end of the day, it does help me make more of these, and people tend to enjoy this and I enjoy this. So it's a good win-win for everybody. And it makes me less likely to murder somebody. So that's always a good thing. So you're saving lives.